Hi, Apostle Jeremy Scott Gibbs. I'm joined here today with Prophet Kenneth DeMars, Jr. We'll go with Jr. Since in our fellowship, his dad is also, he's a pastor, and so we make that distinction just so everybody knows. You probably don't care out there, but we're letting you know. Kenneth is called to be a prophet, and I wanted to bring him in. This is another supplemental to the Apostle series, just talking about that 3-part web series about what it means to be an apostle. And as I brought others in before, I just wanted to bring you in and have a little discussion about what it means for you to be around the office of an apostle. I didn't have that experience of ever having an apostle. I would have loved it, but God didn't ordain it that way. You know, there are certain people that are the first. You know, you have Elijah, then Elisha. You have Paul, then Timothy and Titus and Silas and all the others. So there's times where God will bring out somebody without anybody else to lead, and that's to develop such a depth of relationship in them. And then the hope is that the next generation that's led surpasses and exceeds, and that's right. My hope for you. You know, when I prayed over you and prophesied over you, and it really, I don't have any really say so in the matter. And so when God had me speak over Kenneth about being a prophet, and then right at the same time that you're going to eventually step into the office of apostle, I hadn't thought about that beforehand to even formulate it. And so it really, it was pretty much as much a surprise to me as it was to you. The prophet part was easy.
Right.
But then the apostle part. So you've really got something to look forward to, and I know that you look at different aspects and struggle with things at times because you know that eventually you're going to step in. I didn't know before the Lord called me to be an apostle, that I was going to step into that office. I always looked to take a back seat. I always said, Lord, let me hook up with somebody who's better than me, who's got it more together. And he finally one day said, nobody has it together, and those that say they do are, you know, they're just using more duct tape than you. And so I really realized it's by the anointing, it's by the Spirit of God that we do anything we're doing. Right. So when people want to come out and criticize and say, well, you're a false apostle and you're this and that, hey, you're just attacking my dad. My dad is the one who told me to do it, not me. My father came and said, this is what I've called you to do. Do not shy away from it. So I just wanted to ask you, Kenneth, you know, one of the things is what has been the impact in your life to be around the office of apostle? And you and I are closer than some of the other, we're close with everybody in our fellowship. But what does it mean for you being, because you're not just a prophet,
right? But
you're one of my chief armor bearers, and that's a whole nother subject, and you can look up what it means to be an armor bearer. Yeah. But you're one of my chief armor bearers, and you're so connected with me, and you've gone through so much learning in that aspect, and really the Lord ripping things out of you at times.
Absolutely.
And then building back up. And so what is it, can you think of some things that were really stick out in your mind that have been the most impactful being around the office of an apostle?
Absolutely. Well, like you alluded to earlier, one of the biggest things is that I do have the opportunity to gain what you gain as you gain it, so I can build on it, you know, especially when I do move into being an apostle. Mm-hmm. But one of the most important things, especially for me, because I know the failings I have, I know what I struggle with,
right.
And the biggest thing is that you always predicate it on relationship with the Lord, continually developing that relationship with Jesus, and that constantly spurs me on, especially with how much we get to hang out, with how much we're around each other, for me to be able to continuously move forward and to continuously gain revelation on being an armor bearer and being a prophet. And one of my big things is my natural personality is very outgoing, but some of the things I went through in my real young years made me very introverted. Mm-hmm. And so to be told that I was a prophet really didn't sit with me well. You know, in the beginning, you know, I took exactly what you said, and I definitely ran with it, but I really had to struggle and come through with a lot of things. But, you know, like I said, it's very, very important and very helpful having you in that position for me coming up as an apostle, for you to gain that, for me to gain it with you and be able to build on that with my personality, with my relationship.
Right.
That's always increasing and is ever so important.
Yeah. And one of the big things about that too is we're two totally different personalities.
Right.
So what you learn from me, you have to take through the filter of the Spirit that the Lord has given you.
Right.
And you take those things. So some of the things that I think might be important, that are important to me, they're not always important to you. But
Right.
being in such close proximity,
Mm-hmm.
that allows you to get what you need.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of times, and I know it because I've done it in the past, where you're sitting through a message that I'm teaching on a Sunday or at our school, our leadership school,
Mm-hmm.
or whether you're doing it on whatever it is, our new believers class, where you're there more as a
Right, as for prayer, for that support.
right, exactly.
Right.
You're there bearing my armor by
Right.
praying in the Spirit, being sensitive to the Spirit, while we're teaching other people that really that are coming there to be taught.
Right.
And there's not that things won't be brought out that you won't learn from, but
Right.
you operate a different aspect there, and that's
Absolutely.
important. You know your purpose there. But it's interesting that, and I said again, I do this sometimes where if somebody else is teaching, I will sit down and kind of doodle.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll do other things,
Right.
or things like that, and it helps me to be focused, to give my hands something to do. Even when I'm talking, I'm doing things like that. But with you, I notice a lot of times I'll come to you, and I do that with a lot of people because of the Lord's taught me to do that. But out of Galatians chapter 6, it says, he who receives instruction in the word must share all good things with his instructors. And it's primarily talking about giving, but it talks about everything. So when I come to my people, I say, what have you gotten out of the message? And it always astounds me because so many times I come to you and I go, Kenneth, what'd you get? And you come off with these things that
Are totally different from the subject of what you talked about.
Yeah.
Right. And I noticed that's actually a lot of your own anointing. You do the same thing when you sit down.
Yeah.
So when you're doodling, I kind of half and half with the doodling. A lot of times I'll sit in just a real, I almost look angry or or depressed or something because I'm in a real deep thought, because you'll say something during the message and it'll take me, the Spirit of the Lord will take me on this other trail.
Right.
So you'll be like, what did you get from it? Well, you know, I got the point of your message, but
Right.
at the same time, you know, this is what the Lord started showing me about that.
Yeah. And the cool thing is, too, is that the Kenneth is currently not just Prophet Arbor Bear, but he's head of the recording ministry. So he's not just there in the service listening to the message. He's actually running the board and recording the message. So that compounds it even more. And then you come home and do the editing for it and get that all packaged up. So we put series together and stuff like that, the audio series.